Let's treat this like it is test day. So have your pen, your paper, and your notes and your headphones. Find a quiet spot. You will hear 3 academic lecture followed by TOEFL-style questions. At the end, you will have some approximate score. So drop in the comments how you did. And of course, if you're taking the TOEFL in 2025, one way to help this channel is to give this a like and subscribe. Grab your free guide. It's everything you need to pass the TOEFL in 2025. And I hope to see you on my channel sometime soon.
Today, we're going to take a closer look at sand dunes, which are one of the most distinctive features of desert landscapes. At first, they might appear to be nothing more than hills of sand, but in reality, dunes are highly dynamic landforms shaped and reshaped by the forces of wind. The process begins when strong winds pick up loose grains of sand and carry them across open ground. When the wind slows down, these grains settle and gradually accumulate into mounds. Over time, as wind continues to push against them, the dunes can migrate, sometimes several meters in a single year. This movement can even swallow roads or structures if they are not carefully managed. What's especially interesting is the variety of dune shapes that emerge. Crescent-shaped dunes, called Barchan dunes, form in areas with steady winds from a single direction. Linear dunes stretch for miles in nearly straight lines where winds shift back and forth. In contrast, star dunes, which rise like pyramids with multiple arms, occur in regions where winds come from many different directions. Each type of dune tells us something about local wind patterns and climate conditions. Now, while deserts may seem lifeless, dunes actually support a surprising amount of life. Certain plants have evolved deep root systems that anchor them into the sand and prevent erosion. Animals such as beetles, lizards, and small rodents use the dunes for shelter, burrowing beneath the surface to escape the extreme heat of the day. In this way, dunes provide microhabitats that are essential for survival in harsh desert environments. Studying sand dunes helps scientists understand not only the Earth's deserts, but also landscapes on other planets. For example, NASA has identified dune fields on Mars that behave in remarkably similar ways to those on Earth. This means dunes don't just tell us about wind and climate here. They can also reveal important information about the history of other worlds. So far from being static piles of sand, dunes are living systems that connect geology, ecology, and even planetary science. They remind us that deserts are complex environments, rich in both scientific insight and natural beauty.
Today we're diving into the Inca Empire, one of the most remarkable civilizations in the Americas before European contact. The Incas built their empire high in the Andes Mountains, and by the early 1500s, they controlled a territory stretching from modern-day Colombia all the way down to Chile. At its peak, the empire ruled over millions of people, making it the largest pre-Columbian state in the Western Hemisphere. One key to their success was infrastructure. The Incas built an enormous network of roads, about 25,000 miles long, that connected mountains, valleys, and coastlines. These roads allowed messengers, called chasquis, to run in relay and deliver information across the empire with remarkable speed. Along these routes, they also constructed storehouses filled with food and supplies, which helped sustain armies and communities during hard times. Agriculture was another cornerstone. The Incas developed terraces carved into steep mountainsides, which prevented soil erosion and maximized crop production. They cultivated potatoes, maize, and quinoa, staples that could grow in different climates. This system ensured food security for a population that lived in difficult terrain. In terms of administration, the Incas used a fascinating record-keeping method called the quipu. Instead of writing with symbols, they tied knots on colored strings to represent numbers and categories. These quipus helped officials keep track of resources, taxes, and even census data, making centralized control possible without a written alphabet. Religion and politics were also deeply intertwined. The emperor, or Sapa Inca, was considered the son of the sun god, which gave him both spiritual and political authority. The capital city, Cuzco, was not only the administrative center, but also the religious heart of the empire. Grand temples, like the Coricancha, symbolized this blend of power and faith. Of course, the empire's expansion and organization could not protect it forever. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in the 1530s, they encountered an empire weakened by civil war and disease. Within a few decades, the Inca Empire collapsed. Still, their legacy is enormous. Structures like Machu Picchu reveal incredible engineering skill, while many Andean communities today still practice traditions that trace back to Inca times. So, the Inca Empire wasn't just a mountain civilization, it was a sophisticated system of roads, agriculture, religion, and governance. Even though it fell to outside forces, its influence continues to shape culture and history in South America.
Today we're going to explore one of the most powerful principles in memory research, the spacing effect. In simple terms, this effect shows that people remember information better when they review it across multiple sessions, with breaks in between, rather than cramming everything into one long study period. It might feel efficient to spend hours the night before an exam memorizing terms, but science consistently shows that spacing your practice over time leads to stronger, longer-lasting recall. The spacing effect was first documented in the late 19th century by a German psychologist named Hermann Ebbinghaus. He tested his own ability to memorize lists of nonsense syllables and found that reviewing material at intervals produced much better retention than mass practice. His findings became the foundation for what we now call the forgetting curve, which illustrates how quickly we lose information if it isn't reinforced over time. Each review session helps reset that curve, slowing down forgetting and strengthening the memory trace in the brain. Why does spacing work so well? One explanation involves the brain's consolidation process. When you take breaks between study sessions, your brain has time to reorganize and integrate the new material. Neural connections are reinforced during periods of rest and even sleep. Cramming, on the other hand, floods the brain with information, but most of it remains in short-term memory and fades quickly. Spaced practice forces the brain to work a little harder to recall information, and that extra effort actually strengthens learning. Let's consider a few examples. Suppose a student is trying to learn new vocabulary in a foreign language. If she studies 20 words every night for a week, she will likely remember more of them than if she studies all 100 words a night before a quiz. Or think of musicians. Practicing a piece every day for 15 minutes is more effective than playing it once for 2 hours on the weekend. These examples show that spreading out practice creates durable learning across different fields, not just in the classroom. It's also important to note how spacing connects to metacognition, the act of thinking about your own thinking. Many learners feel that cramming works because it creates a short-term boost in performance, but recognizing the illusion of quick learning is crucial. Students who are aware of the spacing effect can deliberately plan their study schedules to take advantage of it. In this way, knowing about the bias toward cramming is just as important as practicing the strategy itself. In everyday life, applying the spacing effect doesn't require complex tools. It can be as simple as reviewing notes at increasing intervals, after 1 day, then 3 days, then a week, and so on. This method, sometimes called spaced repetition, is the foundation of many modern learning apps. By structuring review over time, we turn fragile short-term memories into lasting knowledge. So the takeaway is this: our brains are built to learn best with intervals, not marathons. The spacing effect highlights how important time and rest are in the learning process. By spreading out our practice, we not only remember more, but also understand more deeply. It's a simple principle, but one that can transform the way we approach education, skill building, and lifelong learning.